Hey folks, Dr. Timothy Harcourt here, chiropractor in Fort Myers for 33 years. Today we're going to be talking about what you can do about fibromyalgia. You may not even know what it is. You may have it and don't know it. It's generalized muscle pain all over the body, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. Who am I and why am I talking to you? Dr. Timothy Harcourt, chiropractor in Fort Myers. I'm a neuromusculoskeletal medicine doc. Fibromyalgia is a huge issue, especially here in Southwest Florida. So we're going to go over the things that you can do on your own to help yourself. And even if you don't have it, believe me, you do not want it. So there's some really important things you can do to keep yourself from doing that. Before we do this, we have to tell you that this is in no way a diagnosis of your condition. You need to see a healthcare provider for that, and if you're going to get professional treatment, you need to do that. So having said all that, let's talk about what it is that you can do to help yourself either keep from getting fibromyalgia, or if you have it, what can you do about it? So if you look on the website for Mayo Clinic, it'll say that there's no cure for fibromyalgia. I can tell you this. My experience with patients here is that patients that have fibromyalgia that get good treatment do so much better. Maybe they're not 100%, but we see them get substantially better. We're talking 80 or 90% better. Okay, so the thing is, what can you do on your own? Okay, what can you do to help yourself? It's hard to really say until we talk about what fibromyalgia is. So the thing is, fibromyalgia is really a diagnosis by exclusionary methods. There's no scan that you can do. You can't go through an MRI or CT scan and somebody say you have fibromyalgia. It's widespread muscle pain above and below the waist, symmetrical points in the body. Okay, it's trigger points. We use an algometer to assess whether or not you have abnormal trigger point sensitivity. Sometimes, you go to a different provider, they may just look at you and say you got fibromyalgia. We objectify that whole thing because sometimes it's not fibromyalgia. Sometimes people are in an accident and their muscles got strained and they develop trigger points that were never taken care of, and it's misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia. So, how does fibromyalgia come on? Well, let's just admit right away that a severe trauma can do it. Okay, but doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get fibromyalgia if you're in a trauma. If you've had surgery, a lot of times post-surgical, we all know there's a lot of side effects with surgery, right? MRSA infections, you could have a reaction to the medication, there could be, slicing of things that they didn't intend to do. It's just a function of surgery, right? And one of those things can be resultant fibromyalgia. Infection, okay? Well, the infection could actually come from the surgery as well, but we can get infections other ways. And then psychological stress. So if we've been, could be PTSD, military, whatever the reason you might have it can bring it on. So those are things that can bring on fibromyalgia. Women are much more likely to develop fibromyalgia than men. Comorbidities include tension, headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, gluten enteropathy, temporomandibular joint syndrome, and anxiety and depression. That kind of makes sense because somebody who's got like persistent, nasty muscle pain all the time, it could be easy to be depressed about that, right? Fatigue is another huge one. And the fatigue can come because there's poor sleep. And the poor sleep then messes up the brain. And then that creates, a hormonal component as well. So let's just say that fibromyalgia can occur from multiple different sources. It can be central to the brain. The brain has learned that whatever area in the body above and below the waist should hurt, it will continue to hurt even if that noxious stimulant's been removed. That's a pretty big problem to begin with, because that's through plastic deformation in the brain cells. You got to basically rechange the brain. It could be because there is noxious stimulus, there was an actual injury, there was trauma. And it could be because of infection and other things. So you basically have to remove those sources. This is the this is the challenge with fibromyalgia is even when those sources are removed, people a lot of times will have that persistent pain, just don't know why it's there. And basically, their body's driving it. And there is no silver bullet with fibromyalgia. It's not like you can take a pill and get rid of it. A lot of times, the medical doctor will give you something to sleep better. It may or may not help. A lot of times it does, because if you're sleeping better, it helps your hormonal regulation, and that reduces that component. But there's ways that you can sleep better. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Cognitive difficulties is another one where people have a hard time remembering things, whatever. That can be a factor. So what can you do about it? Well, we're spending enough time talking about it, but what can you do about it? That's really what this is about. Empowering you to drive your health forward in the midst of suffering with something. I mean, what type, and by the way, arthritis can be a factor in all this too. If you have arthritic conditions that as a comorbidity to the fibromyalgia, it certainly doesn't help the muscles at all. And we'll talk a little bit about how to reduce the irritation in generalized arthritis. The other thing is that there are physiotherapy procedures that can be done to reduce the irritation in fibromyalgia. But what can you do? Well, first of all, anything you can do to sleep better is a good thing. So what are we talking about there? Get on a regular schedule. You know, if you have a rotating schedule work where you work third shift one week and first shift the next, that's terrible for fibromyalgia. You might as well just kind of say, you know what, that either I should change my work or I'm probably going to have to live with some of this muscle pain, one or the other, because it's very difficult. Your circadian rhythms need to be in a significant homeostasis. And if it's not, it makes it very difficult on the muscular system. Let's just talk about that for a second. The better sleep you get, the more your cells repair. We have 75 trillion cells. They repair at the rate of 25 million times a second. Think about that for a second. And if they don't have a chance to repair, we'll go on the extreme. They found in military torture that if you keep somebody awake for 18 days, you give them everything they want, all the food, water, drink, whatever they want, but you don't let them sleep, they're going to die in 18 days because their cells can't regenerate. The organ system's going to shut down because there's no regeneration. So if you want to know how important sleep is, you need sleep to live. So if you're not sleeping, you're not going to live to the fullest extent. So whatever you need to do, I mean, besides drugging yourself to death, you need to do those things. So, hey, make sure your room is dark. Don't have the hallway light on at 150 watts and shining in the door and everything else, you know. If that's the case, it's going to be hard to sleep. Don't take stimulants after lunchtime. So don't drink a pot of coffee after lunchtime and wonder why you can't sleep at night. By the way, people who can't sleep end up being caffeine dependent because they can't function in the morning, and then that creates a problem for them to sleep the next night. Do not take in stimulants after lunchtime. What else can you do to sleep better? Well, if you exercise, say like 3 or 4 hours before you want to go to bed, not a half an hour. If you exercise a half an hour before you go to bed, it's going to stimulate your body and it's going to be difficult to sleep. But if you exercise and balance the nervous system, you're going to be able to sleep better. What's the next thing? Diet, nutrition, CBD. So you better have a good diet because it's one of those things where you need to make sure you have all the raw materials. Cytokine interleukin-6 is responsible for chronic inflammation in the body. And by the way, fibromyalgia is a chronic inflammatory condition. So if you can block interleukin-6, you go a long way to reduce the inflammation that occurs in these muscles and the trigger points symmetrically in the body above and below the waist. We recommend non-THC CBD because why do you want to go down the road of addiction? That makes no sense. So non-THC CBD, and of course your dosage varies depending on your body size and how bad the fibromyalgia is. And then just make sure you're getting regular meals. You want to keep your blood sugar on the level. You don't want to have peaks and valleys all the time. What's the third thing? You can exercise and stretch. Now, it shouldn't be like a crazy high momentum stretch. It should be slow, gentle stretches where you're stretching things. Yoga can be really good. We have stretches on the website and YouTube. So there's a lot of stretches you can do for fibromyalgia. Exercise is really important to balance the nervous system. So you get out, you walk the dog, you're outside, you're having fun. You know, you're not on the computer, you're just enjoying life at that point in time. And by the way, getting outside and getting some sun and vitamin D activation is really important for fibromyalgia as well. A lot of people that have fibromyalgia have a tendency to want to stay inside. They want to isolate themselves. That leads to further depression. So when you socially integrate, you got to keep our distance now. We get that. Kind of stinks we can't shake hands anymore, give somebody a hug, right? I don't like that because that's not who I normally would be, but we have to be smart too. So, but we want to be socially integrated, but obviously we got to keep our distance. And in a way, it kind of makes social integration even more important because we're just not getting the same stimulation that we normally would if you can shake somebody's hand, give them a hug, tell them you love them, whatever. By the way, tell your loved ones they love them. You know, there's no increase in risk there. You know. Next thing you can do is creativity. So it's really important to maintain your mental health, to have something that is creating that passion in your life. I've been doing this for 33 years. And when you can find something that creates that type of a platform in your life where you can look forward to it, and when you're doing it, you're not even, time is like a non-factor. Those are the things you want to start making sure you do, because guess what? If you're focused on your passion, you're not going to think about your muscles. A lot of people that have fibromyalgia, that's all they think about, is how much they hurt. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in their body. Their brain knows it, they know it, their muscle knows it, you know. But if you find a passion, then you reduce the internalization and centralization of that pain. There are multiple components of pain with fibromyalgia. The central component is the brain thinking that you should be in pain. The peripheral component is a noxious stimulus and irritation in the muscles. And then there's a hormonal component where things can be out of balance. Maybe the circadian rhythms are off, you're not sleeping right at night, you don't get full night's sleep, you don't feel energized when you wake up. That's a problem. You didn't get the cellular support that you need. So there's multiple levels of fibromyalgia. That's why there's no silver bullet. However, if you meet all the different avenues, you meet the nervous system balance, you meet the muscular balance, you meet the nutritional demands, you reduce inflammatory particles and processes in the body through something like a non-THC CBD. You do all these things, you know, there's basically, you're going to feel better. It might not completely go away because it is multifactorial, and that's the issue. What's the next thing you can do? You can join a support group. So we actually started a support group on Facebook called Chronic Pain Support Group. You can join that and get ideas. We just got it off the ground. Still trying to get it going. But that's how you can help yourself, is get involved with other people that maybe give you ideas about what has helped them. And even sometimes what to stay away from, okay? Lastly, basically keep moving, get some sunshine, and get vitamin D activation in your skin. You know, depression's kind of a funny thing. People who are depressed don't want to be outside. And because they're not outside, they don't get the vitamin D activation. And because they don't have the vitamin D activation, it reduces their mental capacity and increases their depression. So in a way with fibromyalgia, you got to do the things you don't feel like doing. I mean, that's really important, to make sure you keep moving, you get outside, you exercise, socially integrate, keeping the distance. You got good nutrition, you balance the nervous system, reduce inflammatory components, drink plenty of water, give your body a chance to offload the toxins and acids and irritants, and keep a good positive attitude. that good positive attitude could be supported by the creativity. We really appreciate you watching the video today. We hope that there's something we said is beneficial for you. If you like this movie, please like us and also subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate you watching. It's Dr. Harcourt signing off, but remember to stay strong, stay healthy, and stay creative. We'll see you next time. Know you need to go in a different direction? Call and we'll have a sit-down, no-charge consultation.
Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Links are down below.